Tonight's episode of Fan, we're thrilled to be joined by a powerhouse of talent, actress, writer, producer, and voice artist, Katrina Chiovan. Katrina is an award-winning actress known for her dynamic roles in projects such as the Calloway story series, The Missing Piece, Ray Donovan, and also The Glitch. She's not just a force on screen, but behind the scenes as well, directing and producing and starring in her own films like Margaret and Violet, both of which have garnered critical acclaim and multiple awards, including Best Actress at the Cult International Film Festival and the Audience Choice Award at the Astoria Film Festival. Her versatility knows no bounds, whether she's performing her own stunts, voicing multiple characters in the Star Trek Nitpickers series, or bringing historical figures to life in her work. Professional dancer and martial artist as well, Katrina's talents extend beyond acting, making her a true multi-hyphenate creative force. Tonight, we'll explore her journey from her early days growing up in the Berkshires to her rise as a prominent figure in film and TV. We'll dive into her unique blend of creativity, physicality, and passion for storytelling, and discuss her upcoming projects like Macho, Vendetta Wounds, and more. Please join me in welcoming the incredibly talented Katrina Chiovan. Welcome, Katrina. How you doing tonight?
That was an amazing intro. Wow.
Try my best.
Thank you, guys. And thank you so much for having me. And so nice to meet you all. Thank you for coming. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
So it's funny. We met at a mutual friend's art gallery, I think at like 4 a.m, afters. And, what struck me was, your enthusiasm, your energy, but also, when we got to know each other a little bit better, I didn't realize you had all of these creative talents. One of the things I'm always curious about when we do these interviews is understanding sort of where you came from. You had mentioned that you grew up in the Berkshires, and you were also born in Mississippi. I'm curious, how did your upbringing influence the path you're on now?
Oof. Highly. Every single piece of trauma that I've lived through in my life, seriously, has shaped me to be the person I am today. So embrace all of those flaws, embrace like every single moment in your life, whether it's good or bad, because at the end in your story, it's going to shape you 100%.
Walk me through some of your earliest memories as a child, exploring creativity, exploring acting and performing. Okay. How did that come to be a part of your life?
Yes, 100%. So I have a funny story. My mom actually brought it up to me recently that I didn't even remember because I was so young. She would be in the kitchen cooking, working on something, and I would come out of my room in a getup, a costume, a character, and I would just be talking to her, putting on a scenario, and I would go back to my room, change my outfit, come back out, and it was like, oh, was someone looking for me? I would carry on these scenes and episodes, and at such a young age, before I knew what acting was, before I knew anything, I was just doing this. And at a very young age, and my mom recently was you used to do that when you were a kid, right? And I just thought it was so funny how I think as a child, there's a lot of things to look for when they're playing and doing things. I think you're born with gifts, and I think it's really important to tap into that. And then as I got a little older, I used to walk around with the giant camcorder all over my shoulders. And, that was just a small town. And I was just, I don't know, no one was really telling me or guiding me. I was just doing it. I was just picking them up and doing it like a musician would pick up an instrument. And I...
Parents creative too?
My mom is an artist, but more hands-on. She's, in a carving, painting, seamstress. So I actually started dance. So I grew up in a very small town, very, very small town. And there wasn't really acting or anything like that. But we used to drive by this dance studio. And I think I was about like 3 years old. And I just like kept pointing to it. And my mom was like, you want to go there? And so I started dance at like 3, 4 years old. And I stayed in that company for many years. And to pay for all the classes that I wanted to take, my mom made the costumes for all of their recitals.
That's awesome. You also studied martial arts, I see, as a young child.
Yeah. I started martial arts karate when I was about 8 years old. That was really fun. I grew up watching, my stepdad would always play like Bruce Lee movies, and grew up watching Bruce Lee movies. So I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan and Brandon Lee fan, and watching him teach me how to do nunchucks in the basement, and like such a badass stepdad, like motorcycles and snowmobiles, that action adventure spirit that I have definitely comes from him.
And I'm curious, like studying dance and martial arts from a young age, how have these different disciplines that are not acting influenced your acting as you've grown up and grown into yourself as an actress?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't have acting really wasn't an opportunity where I lived. There wasn't like an acting school or anything in that realm. I did school theaters and stuff like that, but not really in that development as a school really for acting. But as I got older, I mean, it's such an important thing, and any actors or actresses in the room, honing in on your special skills is super important in making yourself stand out when it comes to casting and who they're going to choose over a role. So any special skill you have, you might be good at something, but learn something else, tap into all those different skills. Like the more things you can check off on the boxes, the higher chance you're going to get that part or that role. So definitely.
And I see that you also do your own stunts and things like that.
Yeah. Yes. I'm an actress that does most of my stunts. I always leave like the really hard, obviously, for the professionals, as it is their job, and I don't want to take that away from them either. So I want the stunt community to have work and keep thriving and doing what they do best. It's also very physical on your body. Like you will wake up and like can't move, and it's actually a lot more than people probably assume or think. But yes, I think it's important. I love action adventure, so I want to be hands in. I want to get in the mud. I want to go in the hole and dig myself out. Like I like that stuff. I want to get really involved and totally immerse myself in every situation I can.
Yeah, there's an interesting physicality to your roles that really shines through. Curious about the early stages of your career. You mentioned you grew up in a very small town. Walk us through how you went from growing up in a small town, taking these martial arts and dance classes, to coming to New York for the first time, getting into acting. What were some of the steps along the way that led to your first big break?
Yeah, I feel like I can probably relate to a lot of people in this room. I mean, yes, there's some people that were born here, but I'm sure a lot of people came here from someplace else. And I, as a child, growing up, teenager, all those things, just would stare out my window. I would be living, in my living room, and I would just look out the window all the time. Like I just felt this urge to do more, and there was more in me than what my environment was providing. And so, yeah, I got on a Greyhound bus when I was like 17, and with my GED, and I took the Greyhound bus with a backpack, and I just came to New York, and I never went back. And I had this vision of being the best version of myself and trying the best I could do to do that.
Yeah. Do you remember, was there a singular moment that was like, oh, this is my first big break? Or, for some people, there's not really a singular moment, but it's a series of small breaks, if you will. What was it like for you?
Yeah, I remember. So I feel like there's, like you said, it's not really, it's moments that pile up, right? But I feel like there was a moment there that I was like, I got like on Glamour magazine for Ralph Lauren, like as like a model or something when I was like 18. And I was at the time with a partner who was very unsupportive, very domestic violence, very, just didn't let me do that and didn't let me follow my dreams, or just very physically and verbally abusive in a sense. So there was like a while there that I wasn't really following my passion, unfortunately. And I feel like that does happen to people. And it's unfortunate because you got to get those people out of your way. Really, do not let them stand in your way. If you're in a relationship like that, get out of it. If you have a parent or relatives, like get them out of your head. Like you just have to carve your own path no matter what, seriously, because you will like that time lost, it will haunt you.
Wow, that's incredible. You had mentioned earlier that in private, like you made your debut in the movie Friends with Benefits. How did you land that role? Like, what was it like then your first big role?
Yeah, anybody who says background, blah, 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 like, yes, do background, like, do it. You have to get your feet wet. Like, I showed up on Friends with Benefits with Justin Timberlake, Mila Kunis, like, first day on set ever in my entire life. 300 people in holding. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Obviously, you don't even know where to begin, you know? And I ended up being in the film. Like, it was incredible. And everybody acts like they didn't, like, no, start at the bottom. It's okay. It's okay to do background because you learn a lot. You learn about production. You learn about how they are on big sets with 300 background, huge actors, Woody Harrelson, like everybody was there, so it was such a learning experience. And I think it's very important too, to see that kind of level and scale from a back point and actually take it in and observe and learn. And I think that was a really, like, I still remember the feeling I had when I walked in that room and I was like, oh my God, this is insane. What do I do? Where do I go? But yeah, and then I was like, never even watched the film when it came out. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be seen. Like, we rotated that scene like so many times. And then my grandmother and I, this is funny, we were on the plane and it was a film on the plane to watch. And my grandmother put it on. And she was like, oh, I'm going to watch it. And literally she starts screaming, like, that's you. Tells the flight attendants, like, coming over, like, that's my granddaughter. Like, I was so embarrassed. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. But at that moment, I think it was like a little bit of like, oh, wow. Like, wow, this is like, that's so amazing. And the self-doubt that I had throughout that whole process, like, I'll never be seen. And then, like, I had a huge clip in there right between Mila and Justin and Shaun White. I was like, wow, and that was like in 2010, right? So it's a very long time ago.
That's so awesome. I love that. Like, sometimes you just have to get your feet wet. Sometimes you just have to get going, and good things will start happening to you. You were also in Ray Donovan in the Calloway story. You've worked in both drama and historical pieces. What drew you to projects like Ray Donovan? How do you balance, honoring these real life figures while infusing your own creative vision into these different roles?
Okay, so Ray Donovan I was booked, like casting, auditions, casting, booked. I worked with John Voight, Angelina Jolie's dad. I'm sure you guys know who he is. He's a super nice guy, felt very comfortable on set. So that's like a larger scale production that I was booked for. But some of the other stuff, like I create and write and produce and direct and make my own. So like, I'm such a advocate for like not waiting for your role, make your role. Every second you can, make your role. Like, don't wait for just the jobs to come in. Like, you have to be proactive all the time.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you've also produced?
Yeah.
Margaret and Violet. What inspired you to take the reins and tell these stories yourself?
Ooh, okay. So Margaret I like to mix a lot of history with the future. I like to blend those two together. Margaret actually stemmed from, it's kind of based on a true story. It was based on my father's mother who passed away, who I was very close with, and finding when she passed away, I found some like newspaper clippings that were saved. She was actually the first female journalist in 1943 to work for the Daily Orange newspaper in Syracuse, New York. So I was like, ding! I was like, this is amazing. I love history. So I really was like oh my God, this is such an interesting story that nobody in my family ever talked about, really. And I actually had some pieces of her clothing. I had her handbags. I was very close to her. So that was very hard when she passed, and I took a lot of her stuff, and I incorporated it. I wore her gloves. I wore her headpiece. I wore her handbag. Yeah. And so she's a time traveler journalist that starts in 1943 that goes to the future to solve the case. So I incorporated her story into like mine, I guess. And yeah.
That's beautiful. It's like so many, where do we draw inspiration for the different stories we want to tell? Like so much of our family histories and just even our families are full of drama, if you will. Drama, for better or worse. And so it's such a ripe place for drawing inspiration. That's awesome. You have also done 6 different characters in the Star Trek Nitpickers. You voice over 6 different characters. So how does voice acting differ from live action for you? And how does it allow you to explore different creative freedoms that you wouldn't be able to being a more physical actor?
Voiceovers are super fun. I love doing voiceovers. I love playing characters. I love it's a form of acting that you can actually be a little bit more dramatic. It's almost like theater, but in film, because in film it's very, it's not overly dramatic. It's very in here, not here. But with voiceover, you're in a studio and you can, really get into it. And like, it's so fun. I love it. It's like one of my favorite things to do.
How did the Star Trek Nitpickers come about? Can you have any voices you can do for us today?
Oh, that's fun. I mean, we did like over 14 episodes. So, and we're getting ready to drop some that we did a time ago. It actually started during COVID. So I was very blessed to be able to work on voiceover work while COVID was happening. I was in a room by myself anyway, like tucked away in a corner. So I was like, this is amazing. And I really took the time to self-develop accents. I was self-teaching myself accents as well. There's a lot you can learn on the internet, let me tell you. So, and I just dove deep into that and I took advantage of it. And I was doing like 6, 7 different characters on the show. Yeah. And
what are some of your favorite characters?
I just auditioned recently for a really big one, but
oh yeah, which one?
Marvel.
Really?
Yeah. Animation. So I don't think I get it, so that's why I'm going to announce that now. Yeah. But it's been over a week, but just the fact that I auditioned for Marvel animation voiceover was really epic. So that's why taking a gig like that, like during COVID and just doing it, it gave me a voiceover reel. It gave me all this range to show I can do this. And then, and then now I've got an audition for Marvel. Like, who would have thought, Yeah. So take those, say yes. Like, that's my thing. Like, say yes to things, really. Like, even if you don't, like, it does make a difference.
That's awesome. I love that attitude. Say yes to that, even if they are a stretch.
Yeah. Or you might not think, like, you just never know, really. Yeah. You never know.
That's awesome. Some of the recurring themes in your work is, you often take on characters that have, very complex and deep backstories. Are there certain themes or messages that you find yourself drawn to in your work?
No, not the same message or not like the same. No, I really like to explore. Like, as an actor, it's messy, it's messed up, it comes from all these places. And you can be experimental. Like, there's no right or wrong. Like, who cares? Like, go for it. Do that. Do this. Like, and, like, I get ideas all the time and some of them attract me more than others. Like, I'm working on like 5 treatments right now. It's like all these ideas and then pick and choose. Like, I feel like I don't have enough lifetime to make all the films that I want to make. Seriously. So it's like I have to pick and choose which ones are worth my time and energy. So not that there's a one particular message. They're all different. It's just life.
Yeah. Speaking of films, one of your films, Lucid, just got into the Chelsea Film Festival. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
It's a short film.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was the inspiration behind that one?
Lucid, I shot in Coney Island, which I know you guys know Coney Island. Every time you walk by Coney Island, don't you tell me you don't get some kind of vibes, right? Whether it's spooky or weird or creepy or magical or inspirational, like whatever. Like every time I walk by that place, like,
old New York.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And so I'm just like, I always want to shoot something in Coney Island. I always want to shoot something. Meanwhile, we got kicked out of there like a million times. You're not allowed to shoot in Coney Island unless you're paying like, really big bucks. But yeah, the story, and again, I mixed like the historical factor with like the future because a lot of my wardrobe is very vintage, authentic. I make my own costumes. I do design, like comes from my mom. Obviously, that mentality of making it yourself, vintage, thrift stores. Like I don't go and just buy like a costume off the rack. Like we put the pieces together. And I think it makes a huge difference. And yeah, so we shot that. So like the clothing and the pieces are very vintage and authentic, but like it's shot with like, now 2024, like lighting and like the background you see. So you'll see a little bit of that, but I don't want to tell too much. You guys got to come to the festival and see it.
When is it playing?
So we got the email this morning, which was so exciting to share with you guys. So the Chelsea Film Festival, if any of you guys been, it's an amazing festival in New York. If you haven't, you definitely should check it out. It's my second year in the festival, my second film, and it will be October 19th at the Regal Cinema on 14th Street. So come check it out.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm going to host a huge after party with maybe some of the characters there, like in form. Yeah.
So I think Lucid is interesting that you act and you directed Lucid. What has drawn you to get behind the camera in addition to being in front of the camera?
I love it. I love every single aspect of filmmaking. I'm obsessed. I can't even turn it off. Like I can't watch a film and not look at the shots or look at the lighting or look at this. Like, I mean, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, but it's such a beautiful thing. And like I casted it, I location scout. I don't know. It's something I love to do, and it's I can't help myself.
What are some of the exciting projects that you've got in addition to Lucid coming up next?
Yeah, so Lucid so The Glitch was in the Chelsea Film Festival last year. It's now going on Roku next week. Congrats. So everybody around the world will be able to see it. I'm super excited about that. That one is 1950s sci-fi retro, which I chipped my husband to make him the perfect husband. It's really funny and it's amazing cinematography. And so that will be on Roku next week.
Wait, sorry, when you said you chipped your husband, you implanted a chip into...
Yeah, because they're always trying to make the wife perfect, but why can't we make the husband perfect for once? Like, why? Like, what is this?
I'll take it.
Like, I'm like, no. Like, let's just reverse all of that. Yeah. And the funny thing is, it's based in the 50s. So like in the 50s, they wouldn't have done that. So it's like mixing again that historical and futuristic aspect, which I love to do.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from working in this industry, both as an actor and a director, someone who produces their own films? What are some of the things that you found to be most valuable for you in your career?
Most valuable is your network and reaching out to the people in your community that love to do the same thing that you do and finding that circle and finding that way to be creative together. Because if you have a passion for the same thing, it will be a beautiful experience. Also, sound is super important.
We are in recording studio.
I can't tell you how many films I made at the beginning that I had to go back and fix it in ADR, and it was just a disaster. Studios will charge you for it. It's just the acting on the voice will never be the same as the original. There's just so many aspects to it. So if you're making your own films, definitely put in that extra, budget or whatever for sound person, a boom, like definitely do that. That's number one.
And any advice you would give aspiring young creatives who are trying to find their footing in whatever industry that they're in now?
Like I said before, I think it's about being proactive. Nowadays, we're heavily in content. We're always on social media. There's such a huge the competition is crazy because everybody can put out their own material, right? So there's so many people doing it. So I think like you definitely cannot wait to get that role. And I think if you are, for me personally, I will put out something and then I'm reaching out to the people that are above me and showing them what I'm doing. Like, look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing. And like, they bring me on for stuff. Like you have to do that. Like you have to. You can't just wait for your agent, like, oh, you have an audition, like, that's it. Like, it just takes too long to do that. And yes, you might get a lucky break on like one thing, but like, again, you have to just, this is a lifetime. Like, if this is what you love to do, this is not like, oh, I'll give it a year. Like, that doesn't exist. Like, it just doesn't. And honestly, it's for life. And you have to just make that commitment to just make it about your path and what you want to do. And also definitely I recommend too, for anybody like starting out, if you don't have like a reel yet or things like that, I highly recommend, if there's certain roles that you want to do, to create content, right? A reel, your agent on what? 1 minute reel, 30-second clips of your best work. That's very short. 1 minute is nothing. So film yourself doing the best scenes of the work that you would want to get, and create a reel based on that and show them that, because that's the roles that they're going to potentially send you to audition or send you to work for. If they don't know, like they don't know, they're judging you by your headshot or your picture. They don't really know what you want, right? So show them what you want. Put it in their face. Like, I could do this. I'm an action. I'm adventure. And they're going to put you in those roles. Those directors also go on Netflix, watch your favorite films. Make a story of the film with the director. Tag the director in the story. You know how many directors are following me and DM me and talk to me because I made a story with their film on Netflix? I swear to God. That's a real thing. Like, do those things, guys. It's like those little proactive things that you make, those choices you make every day, and do something every day, whether it's small, big, doesn't matter. Do something and it will flourish.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Being proactive,
Yeah.
Go out and do it and make it happen. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you so much, Katrina.
Thank you.
Give it up for Katrina, everybody. So I'd love to open it up to the audience for some Q&A. What I'll do is I'll pass this mic around to the first person, and then we'll call the next person, and then we'll just keep passing the mic around. So anyone want to start with a question? Yes, Jeff.
I love your story, by the way. So I'm a motion designer, and I'm also capable of animating storyboards and animatics. So if I were to create my own animatics, maybe like a 10-page storyboard animated, who's going to be the first person to show that if I were to shoot my own movie? Who's the first person? And is it even useful to show cinematic? Does that have value if I were to do my own indie film? Is that a good starting point, or?
Yeah, of course. Storyboarding is amazing. I mean, you have to start somewhere, and you have to build up like the momentum and the interest to even pitch it. So whether you're pitching it to a producer, director, voiceovers, right? You'd probably want some voiceovers for animation.
AI stuff now.
Yeah. Oh, so you're just adding, okay. So yeah, more like producer, executive producer, a distributor, definitely. Also, a lot of the film festivals nowadays are having an AI section in their film festivals. So I would definitely recommend to like put it into festivals as well for that genre. But yeah, definitely. You could even search like distributors for AI, because that's a whole new genre of distributors that wasn't around before.
I meant AI in voiceover format. So I can just use an AI service to do the voiceover for my storyboard.
Right. But once you have the project completed, you're going to need like a distributor, put it into film festivals, find an executive producer, like some web of that. So I would recommend looking up like an AI distributor someone that focuses specifically on AI because it's a new genre. A lot of the distributors from back in the day, they don't even do that just yet. So like there's a lot of people that are starting companies based around that specifically. I would start there.
Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's May.
Hi, May.
You talked about channeling, about clothing or jewelry, accessorizing. What was that first experience like for you when you're able to tap into that and embody that character through tangible pieces? What was it? What did it feel like for you when you were wearing that and being a vessel for that?
Definitely a vessel. I felt like in a way, I really just hope that she could see it. If she was alive, she could have seen it. But I think I'm just very organic, authentic. Like I really, really like to be like that. I've always have since I was a kid though. So I don't think there was a transition time in my life. I always shopped at a thrift store. I always kind of like dressed as character. Like, I don't know. It's always been a part of me. I think the dance too, like kind of putting on costumes at the dance recitals every year and being like 9 different, shows in one recital. Like I grew up with that, I feel like. So it's always been a part of me, but I think it's really important. Because it's not just the story isn't within, right? But it's also how you're everything that you embody. So it's really important. Yeah.
Do you get to experience that with your voice acting? Like, do you bring something with you? And
Actually, that's a good question. I actually haven't gotten into just character because I'm more like theatrical in that, depending on the role and depending on the character, obviously. if the character is not like that, then no. But for the Star Trek stuff, it was very, obviously it's very kind of, it's comedic, sarcastic, it's funny, can be a little weird. And so, yeah. But no, for voiceovers, I tend to just wear like comfortable, cool clothes.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
I sort of got 2 questions. My name is Pete.
Hi.
First question is, who have you noticed on set that is sort of like the most powerful but overlooked? The second question is, what was the process of you going about and shopping your film around for Roku?
Okay. So on set, there is no one that's less or more important. Like I talk to Crafty, like that's who I am. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's such a collaborative moment that it's not really one person versus another. No, I don't think so. I think everybody has such an important role. Yeah. I think also the energy on set is the most important from my experience. When you work with someone that might get a little flustered or edgy or, I always, on my film sets, when I'm making a film, I always try to keep the energy like super high and happy, like, because it's a long day. It's easy to get stressed out. It's easy to get like a little, but it's always like important. And even if they have a small role, doesn't matter the size of the role, like everybody needs to be feeling good, feeling happy, feeling energetic, that they're in a safe space. I think that's very important. And the second question was?
What was the process of you shopping?
Oh yeah, sorry, yes. So I actually didn't really shop around for that. That again taps back to your network and the people that you know and you work with, and you're constantly like, I'm such a go-getter. Everybody will tell you, like, I don't stop. Like, I just keep going. If this doesn't work, go around it, like figure it out and do it on your own. Like, don't, and just, I don't know. And then I think over time, like I know that person for now, like 3-4 years, like they didn't have that connection when I met them, when a lot of people push into the side. I'm going to be honest. Like a lot of people were like, I kind of just I don't see people like that. And I just kept the friendship and kept building it and growing from that. And then boom, like, hello, they got this opportunity. So yeah.
I guess that alludes to my first question. It's not more so like who's the most powerful, but like who do you feel like is maybe gets pushed to the side a little bit more that maybe shouldn't be, or just a powerful connection that you made that you really didn't expect at first?
Connection I made. I mean, all the people on set, I don't know. And then I make a lot of my films myself. So it's like our set. So it's kind of a two different, because you could be on like a really big set where there's like millions of people there, right? Or you could be on a very small set, more intimate set. So I think it depends too, like on the size and scale. But I think they give a lot of credit to directors, which I think that they should spread it out a little bit more because it's not just the director. I mean, just in general, like a film festival, but like the director, like it's like, yeah, but there's so many other people. Like they'll just put the director's name or just like, I mean, Netflix used to do that too. They used to just put like the director and then like the stars. Now they put like creator by. But technically speaking, I mean, you might have a producer that did way more than the director. You might have a DP that figured all the shots out. Like it just, every film is different.
We got time for one more 3-part question.
I love these questions though, guys, by the way, and I hope you guys come to the Chelsea Film Festival and see our band.
This is our last question, so no pressure.
Hi.
I am also an actress who
Yeah.
started creating my own content or projects in order to give myself the roles that I want. So I'd love to talk to you more about that.
Yes.
On that note, is there something, because I know obviously, yes, sound is important, but is there something, especially as because obviously we're creating these projects to showcase obviously the talents of our team, but also ourselves. Is there something that you would tell yourself starting out in that during multiple hats? That
Long pages of notes. No, I'm kidding.
all that you've done so far.
Yeah.
Something that was
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah, I'll break it down real quick. So 1 minute, 30-second scenes, your best work, your eyes. A lot of people make the mistake of doing like a scene and they think like, cause it's a scene, it's like, no, they want to see your eyes. They want to see your eyes telling the story, telling the emotion, telling whatever it is that they're trying to, give the audience or connect with. So when you're doing those scenes and making that content for yourself, it's not about you walking past the camera or walking in the room or whatever it is that you're doing, the action, it's just the moment. Just you sitting there, that one tear, don't overly cry. It's actually, crying is,
Just one.
wait, no, actually crying is like a whole thing, okay? So crying is a whole thing because crying is not just, you don't want to just cry. So in reality, when you cry in real life, you don't want people to see you cry, right? It's kind of like you're holding back those tears. So on film, it's the same exact thing. You need to bring that emotion to make yourself cry, but then you have to tell yourself to hold it back. So it's just one tear. Like, you're not like, because they don't want to see that. They don't want to watch that. They just want to see that emotion in your eye. So it's about showing that pain or whatever in your eyes and like that one tear that may come down. If it doesn't come, don't fight it. Just hold it in your eyes. And then that's what you need. Right. And that's a great way to do it. They want to see they want to see that almost tear. Like that's so crucial in the acting world. They want to see that you can do that. It's not about being the winner. You're the loser. You're like the pain, right? They want to see you in that character struggle. I swear to God, I'm not making it up.
Just one tear, be a loser.
No, you're never the winner in the character, like you might win at the end, but they want to see you fail first. They want to see you. It's always this in a film. There's always a problem to solve. So you have to show them that problem. You know what I mean? I hope that helped.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Give it up for Katrina, everybody. Thank you. All right, down. Really quick.